Clen is the most powerful demon king who despises all of mankind. But as fate would have it, in his conquest to exterminate the human race, a mere baby melts his heart, and he ends up adopting the child as his own. Now he must hide his true powers and pretend to be an ordinary loser to live in the human world. As the series starts, she follows her father to the farm, and after they are done, he calls her to follow him back home. She looks around the house. She looks at the map of Eddie and sees that right after the map there are dark places. Very dark, just their continent and dark places. She wonders why. As a very curious girl, she looks at her father and asks, "What is beyond their city?" A question that her father himself cannot answer. He knows she is curious and indeed wants to give her an answer, but he can't. Why? Because he doesn't know too. He reveals to her that every human just like her was born curious. They wanted to know more. However, every attempt they have made to enter that dark place has ended in destruction. He tells her that in those dark places there are 4 demons. These demons are guarding the west, east, north, and south of Eddie, and all the teams they have sent to try to find out what is beyond them have been annihilated, killed. She is shocked. Does this mean it is really bad? She wonders. This doesn't change anything for her. Her father tells her that until the demons are killed, there is no way they can find out what is going on there. Every problem should have a solution. What then is the solution to this one? He further explains to her that there are treasures that heroes use to fight. Only heroes who have these treasures, swords, can fight these demons. And until they find the hero, they cannot win. This gets her more excited. She wants to be a hero. She wants to fight. It is the sword of Haydn, and if she gets it, she can fight. And when they win, they can see the world beyond their map and know what is in the dark places. Several years pass by. Our Alicia is no longer a child. She is indeed part of the heroes that have been chosen. She closes her eyes and opens them in the truck that is driving them to the outskirts of the city. She holds the chain on her neck, telling her father that the time is here. The time is here to fight for her city. She isn't going on this trip alone. There are several other heroes who are on this trip too. As the journey goes on, they start a conversation and start introducing themselves. There are some notable people among them. Minnow, whose treasure is who claims he doesn't know where he is from. They look at Alicia and ask her to introduce herself. They are shocked that there is a woman among them, and she doesn't bother to introduce herself at all. They get nearer to the outskirts and another member, Stefan, whose treasure is Tenma, warns them that they are near. They whisper among themselves that he is the strongest there. Suddenly the carrier stops and the driver tells them that the carriage cannot go nearer to the place again. They all prepare to come down, but they haven't even landed when the demons start attacking them. Indeed, a few of them die from the carriage and Stefan screams to all of them to come out and fight. They troop out and he divides their squad into groups. The archers and the lancers get into action and he tells the others that he will pair with Alicia to fight the leftover ones. And yes, Alicia has the Iwatubame's treasure. She joins Stefan and they fight through. She is strong, charismatic, but what's more to note about her is that she is very conscious of her environment. On the mount in front of them is one of the demon lords. He speaks about the world of chaos. He admits that the world is born of chaos. But if that is true, then he is also born of chaos. He may be right. As the war continues, all the heroes jump through the mounts and hills until they get to the top of the mountain. Stefan, for one, is excited. He has been declared the most intelligent, and it is just fair he acts the name. He tells them that that day is the day they will be declared as strong people, and they must show the people that chose them that they are strong enough. As they reach Mount Moon, the demon lord comes out. He looks amazing, if that is the right word for it. His white fluffy skin, his look, it is terrifying. He is Clevatess of the southern moonlight. Stefan is pushed back. He admits that what is in front of him is terrifying. However, they are commissioned for this. They are backed up. They are heroes and together they will make the legend come true. As he urges himself to fight, he is attacked by Clevatess from afar. Clevatess pushes him to the wall and kills him. Everyone is shocked because Clevatess didn't even come near them. One hero takes the initiative to lead and encourages others to fight. But Alicia takes her time to consider the environment. As the heroes get nearer to Clevatess, he kills them all without even leaving where he is standing. Alicia eventually realizes what has happened. She screams to the others that Clevatess is attacking them from his shadows. If they want to survive, they have to run away from his shadows. They wonder how they will do that, but Alicia starts jumping. She jumps through the mountain and runs. Indeed, the shadow gets nearer to her. and she is the first hero who sees the attack before it hits and fights it. Clevatess's eyes shine in shock. Maybe this will be more difficult than the adventurers he had fought earlier. He doesn't care, but it piques his interest. This is humanity, the human race. He hasn't been conversant with the human race for about 1,000 years, but from what he knew about them before, they are meant to be weak as insects. But what he is seeing right now, they have strength. They have a mission. They are determined. He doesn't know what they have that is making them this strong and determined. But for him to know what is pushing them, he has to find out. All the heroes fight against him, and he kills them all. Unfortunately, the last person that he kills is Alicia. She flies to the sky and closes her eyes to death. She apologizes to her father and tells him that she was unable to get her dream into reality. Well, not every dream comes true, and unfortunately, hers is one of the ones that wouldn't come true. At Capital Hydrart, the capital city of Heian Kingdom, the people in the city go through their lives as usual without knowing that there is something coming against them. Unfortunately, Clevatess comes at them. He erupts from the mountain in front of the city and everyone is scared. But Clevatess is just intrigued. He doesn't care for them. He just wants to know what they are up to. He recalls that the people that attacked his territory claimed they were heroes and they were sent by the king of Haiden. So his plan is to fight through everyone around him and get to the king. The villagers are scared. They all start running away while the knights get into action. They bring their archers and attack him. He doesn't attack them in return. Instead, he flies through all the roofs so he can get himself to the palace and see what is their driving force. The knights increase the securities at the palace gate and send several arrows at him. However, they cannot even reach him. He looks at all their attacks and puts his mind at rest. They aren't as strong as he thought they were. They are still weak, and their attacks cannot do anything to him. He throws one of his hands at the wall, and somewhat alike to the wall of Jericho. The wall falls down. The knights realize that it is beyond their control. So, one of them runs to inform the king that a demon has attacked them. The king doesn't look shocked. For a demon to attack them, it means just one thing. The heroes have failed. He stands up from his seat and walks. He has just one thing to protect, which is the blade of Haiden, Mana Hidart. Another knight comes to tell him that a demon is in the city and it is unstoppable. So the king has to hide. Indeed, if the demon is unstoppable, then there is no reason why he should run, because no matter how far he runs, the demon will always get to him. The knights keep doing their thing and sending fires and arrows against Clevatess. He knows that nothing they do will affect him, but it is strong. He recalls the sword that Alicia had used to attack him, and how it affected him a little bit. It means if humans are left alone, they can get stronger and attack him. He doesn't get nearer to the human territory, but they want his territory, which is enough reason for him to attack them. The king goes nearer to the door to protect the blade, but as he opens it, Clevatess comes out. Judging by the accessories and everything around him, Clevatess doesn't need any more information to convince him that he is the king. He affirms that the man is the king and speaks in the human language, which gets the king shocked. He says that a demon isn't meant to speak human language and asks how Clevatess could speak in their language. The king recognizes who Clevatess is, but Clevatess tells him that he is the only one who has the ability to save humanity. He only has a few questions to ask, and the answers that the king gives to those questions will determine if all humanity will be destroyed or saved. By all humanity, he doesn't mean just the people of Haiden, but also the people of Dawn, Org, Sarada, and Bent. His question is quite simple. Who are they? What is their character? What is their driving force? And why are they attacking the demon kingdom? The king doesn't see a reason to give an account to a demon. He says he won't answer those questions. And Clevatess doesn't even ask a second time before he cuts off his head. Clevatess walks away from there, assuming that humans are threats to him, so he must destroy them. He says that for him to destroy the entire humanity, he needs a team to work with. He has to take his time to build one. As he walks away, a baby with a dying mother cries loudly. The mother holds him with her last strength, and Clevatess hears his cry and walks nearer to him. Seeing it's a human baby, he barely cares. However, the mother speaks to him. She begs him to please save the child. That gets him shocked. Can't she see who she is begging? She is begging the real source of their issue. He reminds her that he is out to destroy humanity, and if she wants someone to blame for the child's death, she should blame the child for being born as human. The dying woman speaks in her defense. She insists that a child doesn't have an opportunity to choose what he wants to be born as. He doesn't care. He however tells her that if she wants him to save the child, she should prove to him why he should. She reminds him that she is dying. She can't prove to him that he is worth it. However, she is sure the child will prove his worth when he is old. With this, she gives up the ghost. He picks up the child. He isn't convinced. But since she claims the child will prove his worth, it doesn't take him so much time to watch a human grow. Meanwhile, in this massive kingdom, there are 5 human races in this world made up of Dun who have the highest numbers. The Orgites, who are very brave with horns on their heads. Next are the Sladens, who are basically introverts and don't like talking with the other races. Next, the Benti, who look a lot like demonic bandits, but are really powerful. Finally, the Hayden, who look a lot like humans and are the smallest of all races. As expected, they are also the wisest race with the capabilities to make weapons from Aranasite. However, the royal family are the only ones with the secret technique to do this. Since their wisdom is all they have to offer, they have been selling these weapons to the Dun race. These transactions have gone on to cause the 2 races to embark on some plot development adventures together, giving rise to mixed breeds. Even with this, there are a very few pure Hayden outside the massive kingdom which these races inhabit. There exist wild-looking dark beasts with 9 tails like Kurama in Naruto. Meanwhile, somewhere in the depths of the Luna Mountains, the 9-tailed massive beast, Clevatess, fends off some smaller beasts who were just about to devour the baby. Scared, the baby starts crying, and Clevatess is worried that the baby would soon hit its expiry date. He wraps himself around it and wonders what he could do to silence this loud mouth. Briefly, he places the tip of one of his nails on the baby's head, and it falls asleep. While looking at the baby, Clevatess imagines that it would soon drop a poop bomb. As expected, shortly after, the baby wakes up and starts crying again. This pisses him off, but he carries the baby away to find a solution. The only solution he could find is to throw the baby in a pit. Calm down. It's not the kind of pit you're thinking about. It's just one filled with bugs. Well, not the harmful kind of bugs, but the ones who feed on poop. While the bugs enjoy their dinner, Cletus reveals his dumb belief that humans grow up in a few nights. He is reminded of where he had found the child and is completely clueless as to who the child is. He blames his good heart for turning around to pick up the child, but enough regrets. What would he do with the child? Fortunately, his pride as the Lord of Dark Beasts makes him not consider returning the child and is determined to raise the child. However, he can't do this alone since the child has got to feed and he has no knowledge of how humans operate. Looking at the lifeless bodies he had just acquired, he picks out a woman named Elijah to bring back to life. Apparently, her father had been killed by dark beasts, and in a misguided passion for revenge, she led an army to attack the Lord of Dark Beasts. This only ended in tears. However, she fortunately has a second chance at life. Upon her resurrection, Clevatess, she tries to attack Clevatess, but realizes that her sword and all the bodies of her comrades have been thrown away. He proudly claims that he had revived her with his dark powers, which makes her nothing but a walking dead. She seems like a good-looking zombie. After receiving this information, she is dumbfounded. With her mouth wide open, she wonders how he can speak human language so fluently, but is somewhat pleased to be the only survivor. Not exactly. Just then, Clevatess orders her to feed the baby. Hearing this, she thinks so highly of herself and is appalled by the Lord of Dark Beasts' advances. He informs her about the hungry baby and orders her to take off her armor and feed the baby. Since he had infused some dark magic in her, she had no choice but to obey. Slowly, she grudgingly pulls her top up and eventually does as she has been ordered. After reluctantly doing so, he is shocked to find out that she has no milk. Just so he knows, she educates Clevatess on the need for a woman to have given birth before she can have milk. While the two go back and forth, the baby starts crying again. Instead of finding a solution, the two engage in useless chatter on how he found the human baby. Tired of these small talks, Clevatess insists that she comes up with a solution for the child's hunger. Even though she has no idea on raising a child, she is forced to reveal that he would need a woman with milk to feed the child. Now, the question arises, how would they get one? In answer to that, Alicia reveals that they would have to hire one, but would need some money to do so. Being so broke, Cleotas doesn't have any cash, but with the abundance of Arkansite in the cave, they could rake in a lot of cash. Elon Musk would need to take some notes. While he purrs, Alicia considers attacking him, but since she wasn't with her sword, he had no choice but to remain still. After a brief moment of contemplating, Clevatess agrees that they get someone with milk to feed the baby. He is about to step out when she informs him that it is impossible to go into the town in his current form. Looking at how large he is, he would end up scaring everyone they come across. After first, he offers to take the baby into town herself and find a mother for it. However, Clevatess doesn't consider this option since he doesn't want the baby to go out of his sight. Instead, he transforms into a human boy. As much as his disguise seemed convincing, his 9 tails still kept on wagging behind him with a little horn in his head. He ends up retracting the tails into a shadowy opening underneath him. Even with this, the horn remains visible, but he doesn't seem to have an idea about it, and Alicia decides to keep her mouth shut. Before heading out, he thinks of a name for himself and the child and comes up with Clen for himself and Luna for the child. Only at that moment does he seek to know Alicia's name, and she reveals it to him. After that, they head out to a small river. On arrival, Alicia assumes responsibility of bathing the child. While doing so, he gets interrupted by Clen, but continues only to be rewarded with some pee on her face. Clen basically criticizes everything she does like an annoying mother-in-law, from how she cleans the child to how she wraps himself up and specifying places she should focus on while cleaning him up. After cleaning up the child, he is very excited. However, Clen believes that the poop-eating bugs did a better job at cleaning than Alicia. The two arrive at Alicia's camp and find it empty. However, she reveals that they had kept all their valuables somewhere else. Before they proceed to that place, Clen orders her to have her bath since she rir like a contestant, aiming for the Guinness World Record for the longest day with having a bath. Also, he hands her the clothes used to wrap the child to wash, and while doing so, she discovers that it has the crest of the Hyenian royal family. Immediately, she figures out that this child is royalty. Meanwhile, in the rumbles of the castle, a soldier comes running to find any survivors, but is baffled by the sight of how much damage the Dark Lord had done. The sight of this reminds him of the Crown Princess's plan to flee the kingdom with her child before the havoc. He blames the king's madness for the kingdom's destruction, but hopes to find at least one survivor. On the other hand, General Drell and some of his men look upon what remains of the Hyenians' kingdom. He orders one of his men to inform the Emperor about this, warning that if they don't act fast to take the Hydenian land, another race will. His main reason for wanting them to take Haydn is the secret of Arcanosite crafting, which only the Hyenian royal family knows. So while he returns to rally his soldiers, he instructs his second-in-command, Maynard, to search for any survivors with royal blood and make sure to bring them to him. Elsewhere, Alicia confronts Clen with the crested cloth and accuses him of kidnapping a child with royal blood. Hearing her say this, Clen is as surprised as he is shocked. He reveals that he had been entrusted with the child by someone who has the exact human form he has chosen. Even though Alicia strongly believes that he is lying, he shuts her nagging mouth up and reveals that he had killed the king for attacking him first. However, he expects that a lot of people would be looking for the child to get the secret for crafting Aeronite. Pleased at the revelation of the royal child, he is determined to make the child king in hopes that he would get to dictate how things happen from the shadows. The fact that he regards the child as his servant scares Alicia, who watches in fear. Hearing him say this, Alicia wonders if she hasn't made things worse by revealing the child's true identity. Meanwhile, Clen asks that they hurry up with finding a woman with milk in order to fill up the child's belly. While they leave, Alicia tries to calm herself with the thought that it would be impossible for humans to accept Clen with the horn on his head. However, she forgets the fact that Orgites have similar horns that could make Clen acceptable, although she strongly believes that the humans would figure him out and destroy his plans before it even starts. On the other hand, she has come to realize how obsessed Clint is with Luna and believes that Luna's death or disappearance could spell doom for the entire human race. With this in mind, she makes it her new point of duty to make sure no harm comes to Luna. On their way, some bandits attack and hit Clen on the head. First, when Alicia realizes that they are just bandits, he assumes that they would be easy prey for the powerful Lord of Dark Beasts. Unfortunately, Clen falls to the ground after getting hit and even starts bleeding profusely. Watching this happen, Alicia screams like a little girl and ends up getting hit at the back of her head, causing her to pass out. She is shocked that even with Clevatess's dark power in her, she is this weak. A while after, Alicia awakens with a view that seems like she is surrounded by her soldiers on their way to attack Cleese. Before she gets comfortable in Disneyland, Clen orders the fool to wake up. At that moment, she wakes up to the reality of them being captured by the bandits. But Clen reveals this with a smile on his face. They are in the bandits' carriage where many other captives are sitting beside Clen. Clen is holding the baby Luna with a calm grin, which worries Alicia more as she doesn't know what's going on. She notices Luna sleeping and asks Clen how he managed to calm him. Clen explains that Luna was crying moments ago, but it's all fine now since the ride is a smooth journey. Luna moves through the other captives to get closer to Clen and whispers to him, asking why he, one of the strongest demon kings to have ever lived, willingly got caught. She thinks that by changing his appearance, Clen's strength has also been reduced, which is why he got knocked out in one shot. Clen states that her assumption is close, but not quite right. He explains that the way he changed his appearance also made his body as fragile as a human's, which he didn't know. That's why when he was hit from behind by surprise, he got knocked out. So essentially, Clen's natural defense system is now weak, but using his powers, he can make it stronger. Then the question is, why hasn't Clen tried to escape this mess yet? Clen's reasoning is that since he is now disguised as a human, he plans to keep his true powers hidden until Luna becomes the next king. That's why he is letting the current events play out as they are. Moreover, Clen wishes to learn more about the human world, including why these poor people have been abducted, and that's why he's chosen not to escape. Realizing how clueless Clen is about everything, Alicia explains to his dumbass that they and the others were captured by bandits who are most likely planning to sell them to slave traders. In any case, Alicia requests Clen not to judge humans based on how bandits behave, claiming that bandits are the worst among them. Shortly after, the carriage arrives at the bandits' base, and the captives are divided into two groups, one with males and the other with women and children. One of the captives makes a run for it, to which the bandit executive Darn literally smiles, knowing this fool just made a death wish. Rightfully so, as seconds later, another bandit throws a dagger at the running captive, stabbing him through the back and ending his misery. With the miscreant gone for good, Darn warns every one of the fresh captives not to make the same mistake, because if they do, they too will face the same fate. He then turns to Alicia, telling her to come with him. Clen wonders what he should do when a woman named Carm, who I'm guessing is in charge of the women and babies department of this human trafficking gang, notices him standing still. Seeing that he has a newborn in his arms, Carm calls her servant New to take care of Luna. New's job here is to nurse the babies that get captured. The bandits' base is in a quarry, and deep inside the pit is a pool of water where at the very bottom lies a legendary red blade. But the blade is being protected by something monstrously strong. Anyway, it seems I misjudged Darn's character, because it's revealed that he only brought Alicia to Broco. Bronco is the acting leader of the bandit gang Crows in the absence of their real boss, Jazak. Broco apparently usurped the position as the boss of the Crows, but no one dares protest because of his pet beast, Betty, that can literally shred anyone to pieces. Alicia recognizes this beast as a Western demon and is surprised to learn that Broco has managed to tame it. Broco communicates with Betty, and Betty tells him she wants to play with a male human. So, Broco tells her to feel free to choose one of the two bandits who came here with Alicia. But before that, he reveals why he brought Alicia to his office. The bandits, of course, have all the magic crystals Alicia collected from Clen's base. Bronco also knows that these crystals are from Mount Moon, the lair of Clevatess. Judging from the evidence and the fact that Alicia didn't wet herself at the sight of Betty, he concludes that she is one of the 13 heroes sent from Haydn to slay Clevatess. Broco assumes Alicia was on her way back to Haydn with that bag full of magic crystals. So, he drops the bad news. The royal capital has already been destroyed by Clevatess. However, he claims this isn't exactly bad news for the Crows, revealing that he has a reddish blade, the Mana Hidlart sword that only Haydn royalty knows how to make. Broco's sword, of course, is a fake, and his gang sells these fakes to people dumb enough not to know the difference. Now that the entire royal family has logged out of this world permanently, the prices of Mana Hidlart swords will skyrocket. This is a great way to make money. But Broco is interested in something more. The purest of the Hidlart swords forged by the kings of Haydn and handed to the heroes. Broco is certain that all the other heroes have died at the hands of Clevatess, and Alicia only escaped by abandoning her comrades. He asks Alicia where her weapon is and where the weapons of the 12 other despawned heroes are. As Alicia refuses to answer, Broco orders Darn and Satch to take her to Clevatess's base in order to search for the treasures. Darn suggests that it might be better if they take Alicia to retrieve another treasure that's already on their radar, but Broco insists on sticking to the original plan. He also tells both Darn and Satch to feel free to get some exercise with Alicia before leaving to make sure she doesn't cause any trouble during the journey. Meanwhile, Clen is working as a waiter at the Bandits Inn run by Carm. Many bandits try to make a move on Carm, and Clen, noticing it, can only wonder how awful these people truly are. On the other hand, Nu is feeding Luna with the milk Luna's dad forgot to bring home. Nu has other responsibilities, too, as she also works as a waiter here and gets abused by the customers, who are all bandits. Clen obediently and patiently serves meat to the bandits, and many of them are impressed by his service. Carm, however, feels something unsettling. Everyone here assumes Clen is an orc because of his horns, but his skin is too pale and his eyes look like the eyes of a killer. Two bandits start picking on Nu and drag her away to run a few rounds with her. They go at it all night and leave the poor girl covered in wounds and bruises. She doesn't complain, though, and once they're done, she quietly returns to the inn to nurse Luna. The two bandits who tortured Nu suddenly begin to feel weak and dizzy, and they are literally erased from this world when Clen reveals that he was behind it delivering justice for poor Nu. Nu walks there to feed Luna and finds Luna in Clen's hands. She doesn't know what he has done to the two men that molested her, and she is just interested in feeding the child again. She carries Luna and takes him to a shed to feed him. Clen sits with her and asks her to tell him about her. He wonders if she is also part of the crows and what they do. She tries to pause to explain, but he asks her to continue and just talk. He is only curious about her, and it is nothing. She reveals that she had always grown in that place. Her only identity is that she is a member of the crows. She never had a father in her life, and all she had was a mother. However, while she was a child, she never saw her mother's face, just her back. But she knew her mother was a slave because she sneaked and watched to see how men molested her mother and had intimacy with her. However, when she was 12, her mother disappeared. She didn't know if her mother died or ran away. All she knew was that on that said evening, she was eating her meal when some of the men came to meet her and hit her. For the next few years, her life was miserable. She realized that it was her mother who had been protecting her. They beat her every day, and she eventually had to live like livestock until she met Sis Carm. Carmi told her that she could satisfy the men, and if she did satisfy them, they would forget about maltreating her and get satisfied with themselves. She decided to follow Carm that night, and she learned how to satisfy men. Although she cannot be like Carm, she knew that life got better. At least now she has work, and she can also feed her children because of her excess milk. So she is satisfied too. Clen wonders why she has breast milk when she has no child. She reveals to him that she was pregnant, but she had a stillbirth. Her child was moving in her womb, and that gave her reasons to live until suddenly the child came out dead. When the midwives told her the child was dead, she could see herself sinking into a cold world. She assumed that she was going to die, too. And to be honest, she was fine with it. She didn't see any reason she should continue living and assumed that if she died, she would reunite with her child. However, she suddenly started feeling warm. Her eyes opened to life again, and she saw a child of about 6 months old sucking her breast milk. She was satisfied seeing that the child was struggling to live and could depend on her. So, she carried the child and fed him. That gave her a new reason to live. She fed the child until he grew and several other children came to the crows and she fed them too. Seeing them live because of her is enough to make her happy and satisfied. She reveals that she had also attempted to have her kids twice, but it didn't work out for her. Clint is tired of hearing all of these. He asks her to stop and asks if she will follow him as Luna's wet nurse. He insists that he has no intention of taking her, but he doesn't have a reason not to take her too. And since Luna likes her, it will be a win for him. Clen gives Naru the option again. Does she want to follow him as Luna's wet nanny, or she will remain there and allow those scumbags use her as they want? She indeed knows that it is a great offer. However, it would be short-sighted for her to accept it since he is also a slave, at least to the best of her knowledge. She tells him that she wishes otherwise, but she wouldn't be able to follow him. Her reason being that he is also a slave, and she has other children that she will love to feed and give hope of survival. She gives him Luna and leaves. On the other hand, the gang takes Alicia to a bridge and tells her to walk. When she gets to the middle of the bridge, she stops and looks down. They assume that she wants to jump down and tell her that there is no way she will survive that jump. She is looking at the river in front of her. Instead, she can see gems inside the river, and she knows what it is. Before she could say what she thought, they told her that it was the river that the legendary hero Cord died. She knows it, too. Right there, one of the slaves challenges that he will enter the river, and if he brings what they want, they will release him and his wife. His wife urged him to go, reminding the scumbags that they must release them. However, by the time he jumps into the river, monsters come and eat him up. Alicia knew those gangs weren't going to release him. That place is LB Shaft. It has several monsters that had entered the world 300 years ago because of a flood, and his sword, Arventes, is inside that river. So, they wanted someone who could bring the sword out. However, it is impossible. She calls them scumbag because they knew the boy would die, and they didn't even tie his rope well. They remind her she isn't there to give them advice, and the man who will beat her is right in front of her. She looks at the horrible man, Pedo, who jumps onto her bridge to fight her. Before he gets closer to her, she breaks one of her hands and takes the sword from him. Then she cuts off the rope on the bridge and jumps down the bridge. She talks to herself about how she's trusting Clen's words that she would not die as she falls down the bridge. The bandits totally lose it when they find Alicia looking dead. Their whole plan was to keep her alive so she could take them to the 13 missing royal treasures. But deep in the cave, Alicia wakes up again, kept alive only by Clevatess's curse of immortality. The curse stops her from dying, but it doesn't fix her wounds. She's broken and bleeding, lying there unable to move at all. Every bone in her body is smashed, and she's lost so much blood that escaping without help is impossible. Even worse, if the bandits figure out she's still breathing, she's in even deeper trouble. She tries desperately to move when suddenly her blood starts floating in the air, and Clevatess shows up in front of her. Alicia is shocked to see him so tiny. He explains that he's using her magical blood to appear like this. This enchanted blood is what keeps her immortal body going. If it all runs out, she'd finally die for good. But Clevatess tells her that as long as she's useful to him, he'll keep refilling her blood supply. Once that happens, her wounds should slowly heal. Alicia feels relieved, but then realizes that Clevatess hasn't started healing her yet. Curious, she asks why he's waiting. He says he'll get to it soon, but first he needs to ask her something. Clevatess tells her he recently found the perfect wet nurse for Luna. Even though he's a demon, he could see how badly Nell was being treated here. So he offered her a chance to leave this place and start a better life taking care of Luna. But to his surprise, Nell said no without hesitation. Clevatess asks Alicia if she knows why Nell would turn down such a good deal. From Alicia's point of view, it's probably because Nell sees him as just another bad guy who can't be trusted to keep his promises. In a world run by bandits like these, nobody just gets to leave freely, and people who try to escape usually get hunted down. Growing up here, Nell probably thinks real freedom is totally impossible. Clevatess wants to know if there's a way to fix this problem. Alicia suggests the easiest solution would be to kill all the bandits in the camp. Without anyone chasing her, Nell would be way more likely to take his offer. She points out that for someone with Clevatess's power, wiping out the entire group alone should be no problem. But Clevatess refuses, saying he can't take that risk. If word got out that he left the mountain, others might take the chance to attack his territory. Instead, he tells Alicia to do the job, since it would make perfect sense for a hero like her to take down a bandit group like this. Alicia tries to argue, but Clevatess cuts her off sharply, orders her to get it done, and immediately pumps her body full of blood to start the healing. Later, the bandits go down into the mine looking for Alicia's body. When they find her, they freeze in terror. Her body is twisted in sick, unnatural ways. As her broken bones snap back into place and her flesh grows back together, she goes through incredible pain. But when it's over, she's completely healed. The bandits can't understand how she survived such a deadly fall. But their goal stays the same. They want to force her to lead them to the 13 treasures. Knowing she's a hero, they stay careful. But they think overwhelming her with numbers will be enough. One impatient bandit charges forward and stabs Alicia in the shoulder. She grabs his arm, punches him in the face, and takes his sword and eye patch. Violence makes her sick, but these bandits are beyond saving, leaving her no choice but to kill them all. While Alicia fights the bandits, Clen gets the job of finding Nell and convincing her that escaping this place really is possible. At the same time, Nell goes back to the tavern where Carm has been waiting nervously. Carm is worried sick. She can't stand watching Nell get constantly abused and beaten, but she's powerless against the bandits. Nell really appreciates Carm's kindness, but there's still a lot of work to do. Carm asks her to start by washing the dishes. She notices that Nell seems unusually happy despite her injuries and asks if something happened. Nell hesitates to call it good news, but admits it cheered her up. Nell asks Carm about the world outside the camp, which surprises Carm since Nell has never been curious about this before. Confused, Carm asks why she wants to know. Nell explains that unlike Carm, who was brought to the camp, she was born here and has never seen the outside world. She figures Carm must know something about it. Carm admits she knows about the outside world but doesn't have many good memories of it. Like most women here, she either lost her home or never had one, so it's not something they talk about much. She then asks Nell why she's suddenly interested in the outside. Nell says someone asked her if she wanted to leave. Carm slaps Nell hard for daring to say such a thing, especially with bandits everywhere. To the bandits, they're nothing more than throwaway slaves, only useful as long as they're needed. That's why the women stick together to protect each other. If Nell wants to survive here, she can't go around saying stuff like that. Right then, Vro walks in, having heard everything. Carm gets nervous, not knowing what he might do. She asks why he's there, since he almost never comes to the tavern. Vro curtly says he heard about a baby and wants to see it himself. Carm tells Nell to let Vro know where the baby is. Nell says she last saw Luna in the stables. Vro says he'll check for himself, but before leaving, he tells Nell to come with him. The way he says it immediately tells Carm this isn't good news. She tries to step in, but she has no power here, so there's really nothing she can do. Meanwhile, Nell has no idea what's coming. After Vro takes Nell away, Carm slams her hands on the table in frustration. She's pissed because Nell was the only one who could take care of the babies, but Vro clearly doesn't care about that. Carm tries to tell herself there was nothing she could have done, that Nell brought this on herself by talking about leaving in front of Vro. But deep down, she still feels awful about what's going to happen to her. Then Clen shows up with Luna in his arms, catching Carm off guard since she didn't hear him come in. She quickly assumes he's just there to feed Luna. With a heavy heart, she tells him that Nell is gone and probably won't be coming back. Carm isn't happy about it, but sadly, that's just how things work around here. Clen doesn't get what Carm means, so he demands an explanation. One look into Clen's eyes tells Carm he's dead serious about making sure Nell stays safe. Meanwhile, Vro leads Nell down some old stairs. Nell is amazed because even though she's lived her whole life in this camp, she's never seen this place before. Vro explains that this area used to be part of a huge magical ore mine and that magical ores have tons of uses. For example, the lamp he's carrying works by mixing crushed magical ores with bug oil to make a flame. He adds that before becoming a bandit, he spent a lot of time studying how magical ores could be used, especially how they react when mixed with different liquids to create unique effects. Suddenly, Nell trips over a skull on the floor and gets the feeling this might not be good. Vro puts out the light, and Nell panics because the place is pitch black and she can't see anything. She begs Vro to turn the light back on, and he does. But when Nell can see again, she's horrified to find Vro's pet monster, Betty, standing behind her. A big part of Vro's research was developing special mixtures to control demons like Betty. This ability let him become the leader of the bandit camp. But as the leader, he can't show mercy to someone like Nell after she openly talked about escaping. So he decides to have Betty kill her. As soon as Nell fully realizes what's happening, panic takes over. In a desperate attempt to run, she bolts, but Vro quickly orders Betty to eat her. Betty immediately chases after her as Nell stumbles forward, trying to escape. Her mind flashes back to Clen's offer, and she deeply regrets not taking it, wondering if things could have been different. Just then, she sees Clen holding Luna at the other end of the tunnel. Her last thought is deep sadness for not being able to take care of Luna anymore. In that moment, Betty swallows Nell whole, ending her life. Luna starts crying at the horrifying scene, but Clen calmly tells her this is just how the world works. Monsters need to eat, and he can't blame Betty for following her instincts. If anyone's to blame, it's him for not getting there in time to save Nell. He's frustrated about losing someone as valuable as her, but at this point, there's nothing he can do. Clen then turns his attention to Vro, puzzled by the fact that a proud troll from the western forest would ever bow down to someone like him. Vro, on the other hand, thinks Clen must be crazy to be throwing insults at a time like this. He has no idea how Clen even showed up, but ultimately figures it doesn't matter. He orders Betty to eat Clen too, but to his shock, she doesn't move. Confused, he looks up at her to see why and is stunned to see that Betty looks absolutely terrified. He's never seen her this scared before, and weirdly, she won't even get close to Clen. She was completely frozen with fear, so much so that she reflexively throws up Nell. But Nell is covered in stomach acid and has lost an arm and a leg, leaving her in terrible shape. Though badly mutilated, she's still alive. so Clen uses his abilities to neutralize the acid. Then he gently places Luna next to Nell so she can comfort her in her final moments. Clen then uses one of his shadows to carry Luna and Nell away while Vro isn't looking. By the time Vro turns back to face Clen, he's shocked to see that the other two are gone. He assumes Clen must have used some kind of magic to do it, but Clen has no clue what magic even is. Vro thinks Clen is just pretending not to know since magic is the only way to explain everything he's done. Simply put, magic involves using magic stones and specific ingredients to create supernatural effects. For example, the drug hidden in Vro's coat was made from arcanacites, certain herbs, and the larvae of a parasitic fly. Basically, it turns everyone except him into complete idiots. After using the stuff on Betty, she became totally obedient to him. Vro pours the drug into his fire, creating a cloud of steam. The moment Betty breathes it in, she snaps, losing all control and charging at Clen in a wild rage. Clen's body gets tossed around easily. He can't fight back properly since he can't access much of his power in human form. As Clen gets thrown through the air, all he can think about is how pissed he is that Alicia never told him anything about magic. Meanwhile, Alicia is still fighting the bandits, having already taken down a dozen of them, but many are left, and the sword she took from one of the bandits has already broken. If she plans to kill every last one of them, she's going to need a better weapon. With that in mind, she runs straight out of the cave. There are still about 50 bandits left. Even with her immortal body, getting tired is still a problem. If she burns out before finishing them off, she's screwed. Alicia finally reaches the water, only to find monsters waiting at the surface, ready to eat her if she jumps in. So instead, she climbs to the top of the scaffold, planning to lure the bandits up after her. Once enough of them have followed her up, she cuts the support ropes, sending most of them falling into the water below. With so many bodies in the water, the monsters go crazy, tearing through the bandits one by one in a bloody feast. Meanwhile, Alicia manages to slip past unnoticed by hiding inside a barrel. Since she doesn't have to worry about drowning, she just lets herself sink to the bottom of the lake, right where the legendary sword is waiting. While the Arvenses partake in the all-you-can-eat Raven Bandit buffet, Alicia continues to sink to the deepest depths of the lake. Her body starts to react to being without oxygen for so long, putting her through excruciating pain. Her eyes begin to turn red, and she starts to experience loss of eyesight. While her brain was aware that she wouldn't die, her body was yet to catch the memo as it was desperately trying to get Alicia to resurface. Alicia braces through the pain until eventually the barrel hits the bottom of the lake. In the distance, she spots a glowing scarlet object, undoubtedly the legendary sword of Cord the hero, the object of her desire. Alicia forces her body to swim toward it. The lack of oxygen had stiffened her muscles. Her body felt several times heavier, as though her flesh had been swapped with lead. Her body had gone numb by this point, but she swam with every bit of strength she could muster. The Regalia sword possessed the ability to make its user stronger, which would help her in this situation. So Alicia desperately tried to reach the sword. However, before she could get to the sword, a gigantic red eye opened underneath. This was not the bottom of Lake Ebel at all. Instead, it was the body of an enormous dark beast. Alicia tries to get to the sword, but the dark beast began to suck her into its mouth. Right as she grasps the sword, the dark beast bites down on her. With only her hand, fiercely clutching the sword, protruding from its mouth, it seemed Alicia's luck had finally run out. At that very moment, an old memory surfaces in her mind. It was from her childhood, when she was learning to swing a sword in front of her father. Although she lacked physical strength, Alicia's father recognized her exceptional ability to wield a sword, predicting she would become a great hero. Determined to keep living, Alicia slices through the teeth of the dark beast, freeing herself. Using her exceptional swordsmanship, she cuts through the water like a fish, swiftly distancing herself from the dark beast. This sword held an advantage underwater, but Cord still lost. Alicia concludes that this massive dark beast must have had something to do with that. Its dimensions were immense, far bigger than any dark beast she had ever seen or known about. It could only be one thing, an ancient one. These were dark beasts said to have lived for tens of thousands of years, mostly sleeping and only emerging when humans intruded where they shouldn't. This one must have been awakened during the Arkansite mining. Despite the sword boosting her strength, her body still needed oxygen, so Alicia prioritized getting to the surface. The Arvenses noticed her and attacked, but she easily cut through them, propelling herself through the water like a torpedo until she finally reached land. The bandits spot the sword in her hands, but their attention is soon diverted by the 500-ton dark beast emerging after her. It starts attacking everyone on land, using its sticky, tentacle-like legs to pull the humans into the water. Alicia was able to slice off the tips of the legs, but defeating an Ancient One all by herself was as impossible as there being no hour-long line at the DMV. The same bandits who didn't think twice about taking people's lives were now begging Alicia to save them. Alicia was no longer the same hero as before. She believed that these people weren't ones to change their ways. Plus, she was now accountable to a being far scarier than the Ancient One, who had demanded the complete elimination of this gang. So she leaves the bandits to their demise as the Ancient One puts an end to their miserable lives. Since the Ancient One and the Arvensis were water-based dark beasts, they weren't going to follow her onto land, and no bandits were going to think about continuing their stay at a place terrorized by a 200-foot-long jellyfish-octopus hybrid with more teeth than a dog that stole Grandpa's dentures. Thus, Clen's order to eliminate the bandits was fulfilled. Speaking of the devil, Clen finally decides to check up on Alicia after the ordeal was over. He had sensed she was having a difficult time through the dark ichor. Alicia snaps at him for downplaying her struggles, but it seems she wasn't the only one in a pinch. While Clevatess was the lord of the dark beasts, Clen was merely a scrawny teenager with a superiority complex, and magic was a mystery even to him. He orders Alicia to report to him right away and tells her to be ready for her punishment for not telling him sooner about magic. When Vroko used magic to control Betty, Clen was able to knock her out using his own power. Vroko was baffled because, to his knowledge, physical magic didn't exist among humans. Vroko bolts away from there, but runs into Neru and Luna while fleeing cowardly. Alicia arrived at the mine after sprinting faster than a kid chasing after an ice cream truck, but Clen felt she could have gotten a better time. Clen noticed the ornate sword in Alicia's hands and inquired about it. Alicia clutched the sword protectively, like a child with a prized toy. Clen reassured her that he had no intention of taking it. The arkansite smoke in the air had dulled Clen's senses. The smoke had no effect on the small mouse resting on Betty's body or on Alicia, but Clen's senses were impaired. He couldn't smell anything, and his ears were ringing. It had also affected Betty, which meant it only worked on dark beasts. Clen could just transform and blow it away, but the place was cramped, and Clen wasn't aware of Luna's current whereabouts. As he goes to look for her, he asks Alicia what exactly magic was. Alicia explains that magic was basically the complete utilization of the arkansite stone's abilities. However, only a small percentage of people could perform it, and Alicia was not among them. Some of Alicia's former teammates could use magic, but since Clen, also known as Clevatess, had eliminated them, it was too late to seek their help. Since Luna's current state was unknown, Alicia asked Clen what he would do if she died. Clen hesitated and, with a menacing look, tells her he would do nothing, but he would lose all interest in humanity. This confirms it. Humanity's future was in grave danger without Luna. Alicia needed to find Luna quickly. Following the path to where Neru and Luna had been, Alicia and Clen come across blood on the ground. It belonged to Neru, who certainly couldn't have moved away in her current state, which meant someone had dragged her and Luna away. Despite being in worse shape than a husband after he tells his wife she needs to lay off the pumpkin spice, Neru tried stopping Vroko from taking Luna with every last bit of energy she had left in her. When Vroko found them, he approached Luna, but seeing an ugly goblin like Vroko getting near her greatly upset Luna, and she started crying. Her fluctuating emotions suddenly caused the arkansite lamp in Vroko's hands to burst. This meant that Luna possessed an extremely high aptitude for magic, something only a pure-blooded Hydnian could have. Vroko had struck gold and did not hesitate to cut Neru's hand off to get away. That's when Alicia and Clen arrived. Vroko shrieks like a chicken stepping on a thorn. Seeing Alicia here, he asks her where Dagarn and Satch, the bandits who were supposed to be guarding her, were. Clen replied that they were likely being digested by the dark beasts, serving as nothing more than sustenance. Vroko threatens to chop off Luna's fingers if these two take even a single step. Clen was very calm about that, thinking he was bluffing, but Alicia knew a sniveling rat like Vroko was capable of absolutely anything. Clen even encourages him to do it since he could just heal them later. Alicia, valuing life and possessing common sense, insisted on handling the situation. Alicia shows Vroko the sword she obtained from the bottom of Lake Ebel. It was a pure Hydenian blade, the sword of the great hero Cord, an item that held unimaginable value, and he could have it if he returned Luna. Alicia throws the sword past him, almost slicing his face off, and it sticks into the wall behind him. She tells Vroko to leave Luna there and collect the sword because he'd need both hands to pull it out. But Vroko, possessing greed taller than the Empire State Building, wasn't content with this. He had his eyes on even greater treasures, the regalia of the fallen heroes of Haydn. Clem suggested that Alicia simply tell Vroko the location, as they were merely swords. Alicia then informed Vroko that the swords were likely in the valley of Mount Luna. However, being the treacherous scoundrel he is, Vroko takes out a new vial containing invisibility magic. He intended to take Luna and all the swords. His greed knew no limits. Vroko sprinkled the dust over himself and Luna, then lightly tapped her on the head, causing her to cry. This emotional outburst fully activated the magic, rendering both of them invisible. As he's escaping, he has to bid a tearful goodbye to the Crimson Sword because taking it out now would expose his location. Speaking of which, in his arrogance, he had completely forgotten to account for one detail. His high-pitched voice and Luna's cry were still audible. Alicia follows the sound of their voices, finds Vroko, and in a quick flash slices him in two. Clem grabs Luna and dusts off the powder, making her visible again. Luna was finally safe, and Neru deserved credit for that too. But her condition was very critical. She was nearing the bright light at this point, so Alicia asked Clem to save her because he was capable of healing injuries. However, there was a complication. Clem required his dark ichor to heal, but he could only imbue one person at a time with it, which meant that Alicia would need to die temporarily while Clem healed Neru. Alicia, of course, immediately agrees to it, being a proud savior of humanity and the great hero her father dreamed she would be. So Clem doesn't waste time and kills her swiftly. Moments later, Neru is brought back to full health, with complete dental work, a hair blowout, and a liposuction thrown in for free. Clem tells her Alicia sacrificed her life to save Neru's. Neru couldn't be more grateful to Alicia for her heroism and to Clem for restoring her health. The dark ichor had been returned to Alicia, but it was taking longer than expected because her body had rotted significantly. As soon as she regains consciousness, she grabs her sword and starts embracing it, so she was probably alright. Clem hands Luna to Neru and gives her a new name, Nelaru, as she had, in a way, been reborn. He asks her if she'd accompany them on their journey, and the answer is, of course, a resounding yes.